I'm Tracy Panara, and this is EarthX. I am here with Kristy Drutman, and she is the founder of Browngirl Green and also the Green Jobs Board. I'm so happy to have you here. Tell me about how you got started with environment.
Well, I'm so stoked to be here at EarthX. I got started in working in the environment when I went to college, actually. I went to UC Berkeley in the Bay Area, studied environmental policy and city planning, and just fell in love with solutions. I was really passionate about fighting for human rights and how could I protect people. And for me, I felt like the best way that I could protect and help people was by cleaning up the environment. You can't think about, all of these issues we face today if you don't have clean air, clean water, and healthy soil, right? And so for me, I felt like this drive to do something about it.
You are like channeling the inner me. I started off with learning about Love Canal in Buffalo, New York. That started the EPA Superfund program. So EPA, the federal government has always been like superheroes to me. And I know that you were an EPA Youth Advisory Council member.
Yes.
Tell me about that and what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, my journey has been quite interesting working in the environmental space. First, working in environmental media through my platform, Browngirl Green, which is basically my series that's focused on blogs, podcasts, videos, educating folks, especially young people, about climate solutions online. And I did that for several years where I was making climate education and climate policy a lot more accessible to young people. And as someone who studied environmental policy myself, I actually interned for the Department of Housing and Urban Development during undergrad. So I was not a newbie when it came to thinking about environmental policy and the need for youth voices in that space. And so after building, quite a presence and platform with my social media channel, Browngirl Green, a couple years later, I actually got invited to be an on-the-ground reporter under the Biden administration to report at the White House. And that led me to even thinking more, wow, I don't want to just be a content creator. I want to make real impact on the ground offline. And so I was like, okay, where else could I explore that? And so I applied and got accepted to be one of 16 members of the US EPA's National Environmental Youth Advisory Council. And that was bringing youth all across the country from all different walks of life, political affiliations, all with the purpose of having youth voices heard about climate and how to protect the environment. And it was an incredible role and position to get to be a part of while it lasted. And I really enjoyed my ability to not just be someone who was telling stories, but actually getting to put that out in the world. And it really changed my mindset that I could be influential in other arenas, which led me to other ventures beyond just what I was creating online.
That's amazing. Like that domino effect of change and influence is really how we're going to make an impact. We are just one person and we need an entire community to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So we have that ripple effect down the road. Now, you do a lot of climate communications. Now, I'm a weather scale person. To me, like climate communications is difficult, right? Because with climate, there's so much complexity with Earth systems. And to get people to understand these complex, like atmospheric systems, especially at their home and for their personal life, has got to be a challenge. How have you approached that? And do you have any like one-liners or favorite topics that you've seen have been impactful?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think at the end of the day, people care. They care about what's happening in their own neighborhoods and in their own lives. So I would say always move away from just throwing a bunch of numbers and data at people in charts and graphs. Focus on the human story, the human element. Why is this relevant to them and their lived experience?
Yeah.
If it's a flood or a fire or a drought, how is that impacting food, healthcare, access to resources, the need for families to evacuate. I live in Los Angeles, and last year when the fires hit LA, it wasn't about all of the data that was coming out of the damage to the soil and the oceans, even though, yes, that was super important. As someone who is an environmental scientist, I mean, that keeps me up at night to this day, right? But I couldn't throw those numbers at people, because obviously, A, it's going to just make them feel more doom and gloom. B, it's not going to connect to a human story, right? And so for me, it was actually more important that I interviewed, organizers, people that were actually focused on rebuilding communities after these fires, who were actually thinking about replanting efforts, replanting trees, trying to connect together how are the wildfires connected to degradation of land and water after the fact. And I did that all through interviewing experts, people who could take these really complex topics and make them more accessible for people to really grasp and understand the connections between climate and human impact. And I think as much as we're able to do that, I think that allows people to see themselves in that story, which is really important, because we don't really have time anymore to just say, oh, it's up to the environmentalists to solve this. It needs to be a human problem, because it is. And I think the more we're able to encourage people and show them that they actually do have a role to play, yes, maybe in the problem, but also even more importantly in the solution of what they're building and how they can make a better world for people, I think that's where the good stuff is.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
With all of our growing environmental problems and need for solutions, we need more and more scientists, right? And inspiring young scientists or future scientists or kids that are going into any field to have an understanding of how the world works is going to be how we get there, right?
Yeah.
And now your Green Jobs Board really makes it easier for people to be matched. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so, Green Jobs Board started as an initiative that I started on social media on my platform, Browngirl Green, because again, I reached this point in content creation where I loved telling stories about climate solutions, had that human approach, loved it, was talking about environmental justice, communities being impacted on the front lines of the climate crisis all around the world. And that felt so empowering, but I was like, what else is missing from this conversation? And I realized that no one was talking about how do you get a job.
Right.
It's so great to go to a climate march and talk about these issues that you care about, but at the end of the day, if you don't know how you're gonna pay your bills and how you're gonna support your family, it's really hard to continue to do that in your day-to-day, or how do you even incorporate that into your job or your work life, right? And so I started a series on social media called Green Jobs Board. It was a weekly post and series that I started online. It went viral. Thousands of people flocked to it. Then companies and organizations actually started hiring through my Instagram and my social media, and they were actually getting talent matches, successful applicants that were coming from this diverse talent pool that I was reaching online, because people trusted me. I had an authentic voice, and I was exactly in their shoes just a couple years before that as a college graduate, and realized that so many people are so passionate, but they're lost. They don't know exactly what the roadmap or the tools are. And so for me, I was like, I just want to be that bridge builder and make that gap a little bit smaller so we can get more people through the door. And now, 3 years later, we're reaching 200,000 green job seekers across the internet. We have over 1,000 employers that utilize us. And we host these summits, our Green Jobs Pavilion summits in New York City, then just LA, and now San Francisco, all focused on taking that online, advocacy of getting people into green jobs and actually having them meet people in real life and getting connected to employers and getting them hired.
That's incredible. So what do these events look like? Are there a bunch of booths with kind of like a career fair?
It's more than that, actually. So, we started with the job fair experience, but I really wanted the Green Jobs Pavilion to focus on demystifying these career paths. So we have, Spark Talks, where we have organizations who go on stage based on conservation or sustainable fashion or energy or water. Like, we're covering the gamut of, expanding the definition of what a green job is. Because I think a lot of people think it's just maybe green construction, maybe just energy, or maybe just conservation, but it's so much more than that. And those topics even intersect and spread out even beyond that too, right? It can be overwhelming. And so the goal of these pavilions is panels and discussions and workshops where people can actually meet hiring professionals, where they're giving them exactly, hey, X candidate, this is how you can stand out in this field. Here are the certifications you need to get, the degree you should pursue, the internship or externship you should consider. And we're really just trying to lay it out in a really accessible way that I've never seen another conference really do for folks wanting to get into the space. And we've also had on-site career coaches where people are giving active resume review support. We have an art installment where people are kind of taking pictures and saying where they are on what we're calling treehouse of a green economy, and saying where's your role in the treehouse. And so we're part content, part education, part intentional networking that goes beyond just going to a booth and getting a business card.
That's amazing. Okay, so last question. Who should get involved in these events? Like, what is it through K through 12? Is high school, college, older?
As of today, these events mostly are reaching early to mid-career professionals who care about these. So
I can go.
Yeah, exactly. So people who are entering or pivoting. We've had senior professionals, we've had C-suite people come, which has been incredible. And so, right now it's early to mid-career professionals, but we want to expand it. We want to reach K through 12 eventually. We want to reach different types of populations. Like I said, we're in these target areas of LA, SF, and New York, but I'm dreaming of a world where we can bring this to the South, to the Midwest, to all over, honestly. And so, I'm dreaming big and really excited about what we're building.
Yeah.
And I would say on the opposite end, this is really for employers who want to understand what job seekers care about.
Yeah.
I hear all the time employers across the green economy saying, oh, it's kind of hard to find good talent. And I'm like, really? Because I'm surrounded by thousands of them every single day and see them. So I'm like, where's the gap?
Right.
And so these events are really for employers that can see that there is such incredible young people that are passionate and have the skill set to match, that they should be, building more infrastructure to get them into their roles. And so I hope more employers who want to, join this movement and momentum of young people, that they can actually access a direct talent pool from, that they'll want to join us at Green Jobs Board.
That's awesome. I love it. Keep doing what you're doing because it's so important. It really is, especially with the amount of people that we need to be in these environmental jobs. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Okay.